Welcome, everybody. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:00 p.m. on Thursday, February 22nd. Welcome. This is a meeting of the San Mateo Union High School District Board of Trustees. I will start with roll call. Trustee Griffin.
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Chavez.
Present.
Trustee Jacobson.
Present.
Trustee Land is absent tonight, and I am present.
Can you ask Trustee Griffin about the 18-year-olds that's on the?
Yes. And Trustee Griffin, is anyone around you that is over 18?
There is no one in the room at all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, tonight we have a team from Hannah Interpreting as our Spanish interpreters. For those of you who would like to attend the meeting virtually in Spanish, that option is available. Hannah Interpreting, would you please communicate that for us this evening? Thank you. Oh, they have their hand up. I think something goes on.
Good evening. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon and select English as your language. If you're joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, please press the ellipsis interpretation and then choose your language. Finally, click on mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish low in the background. Aviso por parte del intérprete: para hacer el uso de servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom donde aparecen los controles, haga clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular o tableta, presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Thank you.
Gracias. Thank you. If you wish to view closed captions of this meeting, please view the meeting on the SMUHSD Board Meeting YouTube channel. The link to the YouTube channel can be found on our website. You may view the captions in English as we live stream our meeting tonight, and you may view the captions in a variety of other languages if you choose to watch after this meeting has ended. Viewers may request additional accommodations by calling 650-558-2201. For our deaf and hard of hearing community, we have a team from Hannah Interpreting Services, and they will be interpreting our meeting this evening. We would like to ask everyone to speak at a clear and reasonable pace for our interpreters. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to the next item, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. Can I please have the students help us with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Next is item I, report of actions taken in closed session. The Board of Trustees took the following actions during closed session. In closed session, the board, upon the motion of Trustee Chavez and second by Trustee Jacobson, moved to approve to postpone the expulsion hearing of case 23/24-3 with a vote of 3-0. In closed session, the board, upon the motion of Trustee Chavez and second by Trustee Jacobson, moved to approve to postpone the expulsion hearing of case 23/24-4 with a vote of 3-0. In closed session, the board, upon the motion of Trustee Chavez and Trustee Jacobson, moved to approve stipulated expulsion case 23/24-4 with a vote of 3-0. In closed session, the board, upon the motion of Trustee Chavez and seconded by Trustee Jacobson, moved to approve stipulated expulsion case 23/24-5 with a vote of 3-0. In closed session, The board, upon the motion of trustee Chavez and seconded by trustee Jacobson, moved to approve 2 special education settlements with a vote of 3-0. Okay. Thank you. Item J, we will adopt the agenda. The Board of Trustees may either adopt the agenda as presented to make a change to the agenda through a motion, second, and majority vote. The Brown Act prohibits any additions to the agenda without a 72-hour public notice for regularly scheduled board meetings. Are there any questions or comments from the Board of Trustees or the superintendent with respect to the agenda? Yes.
Thank you very much. So I'm recommending that we pull item T as in Tom, T5, which is approve the resolution of non-reemployment of temporary certificated employees with trustee Land absent and trustee Griffin virtual. I think it would be better to postpone to our March 14th board meeting where all board members will be present.
Great. Thank you. We will pull that. Anybody else want to pull anything or have questions? No. Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the public?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Okay. I would like to take a motion now.
I take a motion to approve the agenda with the modification of tabling item T5.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, motion by trustee Chavez. Can I get a second?
I will second.
And second by trustee Jacobson. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Chavez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So motion passes. There are no abstentions and there's no discussion and there's no opposition. Thank you.
Student board reps.
Yes, and student board reps, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Go ahead and thank you. Okay, well, we'll move on to public comments now. If you're joining us in person and wish to make a comment about an agenda item or during the public comments section at the beginning of the agenda, please fill out a request to address the board form and submit it to the secretary. This form should be given to the secretary before the agenda item begins. If you are joining us virtually, use the raise hand feature on Zoom to be recognized. When invited to do so, your camera must be on before you're called upon to make a public comment. We will call on you to begin your comment once we have promoted you into the meeting. If your camera is not operational, please email your comments to the Board of Trustees at board, BOARD, at SMUHSD.org. Please note that the comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public comment, depending on the topic and number of persons wishing to be heard. I will call on in-person comments first. Is there anyone from the public today?
There is not.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone on Zoom?
Yes, Miss Erica Parker is online, ready for her comment.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Parker. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Sorry for the poor lighting. I have an eye infection and I don't look quite presentable, but I wanted to speak tonight. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. What K through 12 principal has not done a formal evaluation of the entire teaching staff in 2 years? How are adult school administrators determining a teacher's ability? I have never been formally observed in the entire 2 years, yet I am alerted via certified mail during Black History Month, a day after Valentine's Day, of a non-reelect. To add insult to injury, I'm asked to teach for 2 teachers who want summer time off. It's like I'm good enough to fill in, but not good enough to stay. This is the result of an untrained administration. I am asking the board to reject my non-reelect and allow me to work in my job another year and be evaluated under new, trained, non-discriminatory adult school administration team. Would you want your 16-year-old child on a campus with 24-year-old adults? This is what's happening at the San Mateo Adult School. It's not safe. Why isn't any high school campus student doing what the superintendent asked at the beginning of the school year and share their space so that vulnerable minors can be around their peers in a safe space? How would you feel being a student in a classroom of 60 crammed into a room for a capacity of 30? It is clear at the San Mateo Adult School, many teachers are getting underpaid by teaching a capacity of 60, even 70. One class, it's twice the work with inadequate compensation. What would seem most important for a dedicated administrator to accomplish seems to be least important to the current top 3 admin in the SMUHSD Center. And what would seem least credible to a dedicated administrator seems pertinent to the current punitive administration. The district has purported to value and prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is happening is that the only full-time Black teacher at the adult school is being non-reelected without the benefit of any formal evaluation. The superintendent said at the beginning of the school year, this district is the show, and I believed it. And I say, please don't let mediocrity prevail. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have anyone else online?
No, there's no one.
Great, thank you. Okay, we will move on to governing board comments. Do we, any of our, or let me go through, Trustee Griffin, do you have any comments for tonight?
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
Trustee Chavez, do you have any comments?
Thank you. I have some comments I wanted to make regarding some really great meetings I've attended. In the past 2 weeks, I've gone to 3 of our school sites for different reasons, and they've all been really great experiences I wanted to share. Last week, I attended the Cappuccino School Site Council meeting, and I just want to say we have really great parent participation at the school site council meeting at Cappuccino, and I'm hoping that all of our other school sites have amazing parent participation as well. We discussed chronic absenteeism versus truancy. We discussed and reviewed suspension types and incidences for all violation codes. We reviewed emergency procedures and emergency drills for the Cappuccino school site. I think that's very, very important for the parents to be involved regarding all the things discussed at the school site council meetings. And that makes me wonder what happens if we're in a major emergency event right here in the district office, right here during a school board meeting. Where would we go? Where's the meeting point? These are all questions that all of us should ask ourselves so that we can know where the meeting point is. It's probably out there somewhere, but maybe we can find out. Also, last week, I believe it was last Friday, attended the Cappuccino Latino Parent Organization. It held its Pozzoli night. It was amazing. It was amazing to see such camaraderie, parents engaging in robust conversations and having a really great time. Several staff members were there, including Principal Gomez and our assistant principal, our dean. Just really great. That was Friday night. And then I don't want to minimize the basketball games, but those are really exciting to me. So on Saturday, I went to Hillsdale High School. There were 2 games that were there. I saw the boys' games. And then I saw the Mills girls, Lady Vikings, play on Monday at Mills against Burlingame High School. That was really a great game. We really have some wonderful, wonderful student athletes. And then tonight, while we're sitting here, I think Mills is playing in the CCS semifinals against Aptos in Aptos. And if they win tonight, I want all of us to drive down on Saturday. We don't know where it's going to be. And also tonight, I forgot to mention, also tonight, Burlingame High School boys are playing against Sacred Heart. So if our teams win tonight, then the finals will, then they advance to the finals, which is Saturday. And that's a huge deal. So we should rally around all of our student athletes for all of our sports. I'm just mentioning basketball because that's the one that's what's going on right now. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. Trustee Jacobson, do you have anything to share?
Yes, I will just report that last week on Friday, I accompanied Dr. Kempke and some of the administrators throughout the district for classroom visits at Cappuccino High School. It was a great experience for me to observe what's happening in classrooms at that school. I wish I could go to every school. And I think it's also a great opportunity for other administrators to sort of cross-pollinate and see what good things are happening at other sites. For the most part, I was really impressed with what I saw. There was a lot of student focus and engagement during class. There were students giving speeches. There were students in the AVID class working in groups to like study groups simulating a college library situation. There were kids in the ELD class discussing their plans for the weekend with each other, really relevant written and spoken communication about everyday topics. In the US history class, we saw samples of the students were working on a newscast that they produced, focusing on different groups and their experiences during World War II on the home front. And these were just really impressive products that the students were able to put together. And Dr. Kempke and I were really impressed with that kind of project-based learning that our students are engaging in. What a wonderful way to engage with US history while learning about different groups and learning empathy for their experiences and also developing really robust academic skills. So that was a wonderful experience, and I'm glad that I was invited to go. Thanks.
Great, thank you. I wanted to start with a land acknowledgement before I give my comments. This land acknowledgement was created by the Cappuccino students last school year, excuse me. It says, our community acknowledges that our campuses lie on the ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone. The Ramaytush are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula, whose land was stolen from them and whose native language was lost because of Spanish colonization. As settlers on the stolen land of the peninsula, we should be, alongside with the Ramaytush, remembering and honoring their ancestors and relatives. We thank the first people, the Ramaytush Ohlone, for taking care of the land we use now for education and activities. Our responsibility of caring for the earth is unique and personal to each of us, but should be rooted in allyship with the Ramaytush Ohlone, so we can work together to protect and preserve the land for future generations. I was able to attend the Mental Health Advisory Committee last week. It's neat because it goes hand in hand with some of the other work that I've been doing in the community with the Suicide Prevention Committee, and Behavioral Health and Recovery Services has a youth committee that's developing a pathway for youth to be able to access mental health services before they get into a situation where they are having a really difficult time. And what I enjoy about that group, about the Mental Health Advisory Committee, it's so many different people that are working on a like-minded kind of awareness and just like tackling issues that are impacting our students here, and how we can make our services a lot more, I guess, a lot more attainable and accessible to our students. So that's a really great committee, and if anybody's interested, it's always good to have more people join. Our ETA over at Hillsdale, it's a program that also has a clothes closet. It has a food pantry and many different services for our students. It's all connected with making sure that our kids have like a mentor, and there's tutoring. And so there's a lot of different services at Hillsdale that are important. But recently they've been collecting coats and essential items that people need during the winter, or actually in toiletries and things that people need all the time. But if anybody's interested in donating, please contact Hillsdale High School, and they will collect some things there. let's see, on this Friday, it will be our Pride Prom at College of San Mateo. And it's really, really important because a lot of events that promote inclusion and a lot of just interaction with students and a lot of just love for our community come because we want to also prevent just really terrible things happening to our young people. And unfortunately, last week in Oklahoma, a youth that identified as non-binary was attacked and killed by some of their fellow student colleagues at their school. And it was primarily because they were non-binary. And so these types of issues are not tackled unless people come together and just bring the human aspect of everything and see that we're all human and that we all deserve love and we all want to be accepted. And when it comes down to it, it helps our communities be a lot stronger. So please join us this Friday at CSM. It'll be a really great event, and it's free for everyone. So let's see. I think I just wanted to recognize our folks that do our tech that are always here for us, and also our ASL interpreters and our language interpreters. Last weekend we had the transition to Independence Fair, and I wanted to acknowledge our special education department. They are really instrumental in creating and helping to create this event, and it was excellent. We had over 100 youth with disabilities at the Office of Education receiving services and attending our workshops, and it was a really, really great event. Supervisor Canepa and Supervisor Corzo came and said a few words. Superintendent Nancy McGee was there. It was a really, really great event. So stay tuned. Next year it will be in our district. So stay tuned for that event. Yesterday, I attended a Latinos for Education interview with Joaquin Castro. It was talking about our Latinx students and making sure that there are resources and opportunities for college opportunities. And it also really spoke to the discrepancies between our students that identify as female and our male students, and how we really need to also pay attention to our Latino students, our male students, because they are not graduating as fast as our female students. So in the Latino community. And so it was a really great interview, and you can find it on YouTube. And I think that's it. So thank you. All right, we will go on to approving our consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull anything?
No, I think we skipped over letter M.
You are absolutely right.
And-
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Are there any communications to the Board of Trustees?
Not today. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and the recognitions. I am so sorry. Okay, we will move on to the recognitions. We will first start with our National Women's History Month proclamation.
Thank you very much. So March is National Women's History Month, and tonight we bring to you a proclamation for your approval. Two student members of the Student Board Council who helped to author this proclamation are here with us tonight. Bianca May Santos from Mills High School and Kaya Jimenez from San Mateo High School. And I want to invite them up to the podium to read the proclamation.
Hello. Oh. Hello. Oh, hi. My name is Kai Jimenez. I'm from San Mateo High School. Me and Bianca both authored this proclamation. I'm very excited to read it for you today or tonight. San Mateo Union High School District proclamation recognizing March 1st through 31st, 2024 as National Women's History Month. Whereas Women's History Month began as a local celebration in Santa Rosa, California for 1 week, the Education Task Force of the Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women first planned and executed a Women's History Week celebration in 1978. The organizers selected the week of March 8th to correspond with International Women's Day. Whereas in 1980, a consortium of women's groups and historians led by the National Women's History Project, now the National Women's History Alliance, successfully lobbied for national recognition. In February 1980, President Carter issued the first presidential proclamation declaring the week of March 8th, 1980 as National Women's History Week. Whereas 6 years after Carter's proclamation, Congress, at the urging of the National Women's History Project, declared March of each year to be Women's History Month. Whereas the movement spread across the country as other communities initiated their own Women's History Week celebrations the following year. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background throughout our history have, despite hardship, exclusion, and discrimination, strived and sacrificed for the equity and equality in communities across the country and have served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. Whereas suffragists helped pass the 19th Amendment to the Constitution so that no American could be denied a vote on the basis of sex. Women fought to end slavery, advocate for civil rights, and pass the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the Equal Rights Amendment originally approved by Congress in 1972. Generations of women continue to lead the fight for climate justice. Thank you.
Whereas, standing on the shoulders of the women who came before them, today's women and girls continue to carry forward the mission of ensuring our daughters have the same opportunities as our sons. Women are leading the fight for justice, opportunity, and equality, and continue to lead groundbreaking civil rights movements for social justice and freedom. American women have played and continue to play critical political, economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of life by constituting a significant portion of the labor force, including in education, medicine, government, law, business, military service, and every other field. And American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation. American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation. Additionally, women have been instrumental in the fields of science, the arts, and athletics. The San Mateo Union High School District workforce is made up of 61% women. In 2023, 70% of new hires were women. Our student body is made of 47% women. Whereas San Mateo Union High School District and our communities also recognize the importance of understanding women's history and sharing it with our students, particularly with regard to honoring the significant and long-standing contributions women have made in this nation, California, and our local community. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the governing board of San Mateo Union High School District that the district takes great pleasure in recognizing March 2024 as National Women's History Month and urges all citizens, staff, and students to join in celebrating the accomplishments and persistence of women everywhere. San Mateo Union High School District passed and adopted this 22nd day of February 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent.
So we're asking the board to take action tonight and to approve this proclamation.
If we want to make comments, is that before or after?
You can make comments now.
Okay. I just want to tell the students, thank you so much for recognizing the wonderful contributions that women have made throughout our nation's history. And it was a pretty, what's the word? I don't know, expansive and inclusive summary. However, if I can just give one request maybe for next time, I felt like it didn't adequately articulate the irreplaceable and essential role that women have played in childbearing and child rearing. This role deserves every bit as much recognition as other contributions, and it shouldn't be downplayed or ignored. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
I want to thank our students for reading the proclamation and also for putting it together. That's the amazing job. So thank you for that. And thank you, Ms. Laura Chalkley. I'm sure you got always helping our students as well. But thank you both young ladies. Excellent job of creating it, drafting it, and reading it, of course.
Thank you. Yeah, I just have one comment. Yes, our students are amazing, and thank you so much for for drafting it and for taking the lead on it. I mean, it takes a lot of of guts to get up here and and read stuff. So thank you. But I also wanted to include women who just all women who identify as women included in that proclamation. So thank you. Okay, can I entertain a motion, please? Oh, Trustee Griffin, would you like to say anything?
No, that was a well-written and well-read recognition.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the
Yes, thank you.
proclamation.
So there's a motion by Trustee Chavez. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Trustee Jacobson. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Chavez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion passes. And I keep forgetting, I'm so sorry. Student board reps, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, motion, now it really passes. Okay, and we will go on to the National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month proclamation.
Thank you very much. So March is also the National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, and tonight we have a really special video to share in which 3 of our students will read the proclamation submitted for the board's approval. Our students featured in the video are all enrolled at Bay University. They are Amanda Kim, Ian Huang, and Aiden Lee. I also really want to thank Dr. Holly Wade, our Director of Special Education, for her guidance on the proclamation and working with our students who are featured in the video. Thanks also to Zureen Chang, one of our student board council members, who contributed to the drafting of the proclamation. So TSG, if you want to push play, thank you.
Whereas National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, DDAM, observed throughout March, is a national nationwide event to raise acceptance for the inclusion of all people with this developmental disabilities and to continue to address the better statistics. And
whereas recent estimates in the United States indicate that 1 in 6, or about 17% of children aged 3 through 17 years of age have 1 or more developmental disabilities, or 1.3 billion people globally. DDAM is celebrated to accept the strengths of people with disabilities and their rights to full access and participation in environments that value and honor their talents, abilities, and
whereas during the 1950s and 60s, the federal government, with the strong support of advocacy of family associations, began to develop and validate practices for children with disabilities and their families, previously denied access to services and education, often placed in restrictive and inhumane conditions in state-run, overcrowded institutions. Parents of the children with disabilities demanded that the attention to the needs of their children be recognized and
whereas on November 29, 1975, President Gerald Ford signed into law the Educational for All Handicapped Children Act. Public Law 94-142 Board, the EHA. The EHA guarantees a free, appropriate public education for rape in every state and locality across the country. And
in 1987, whereas in 1987, President Reagan proclaimed March as National Developmental Disability Awareness month to make certain that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities had access to work, contribute, and enjoy meaningful lives that are driven by their choice and.
Whereas in 1990, President Bush signed the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, which was amended again to ensure the goals of independence, integration, and productivity towards independence, inclusion, and recognition of individual contributions were realized, and the San Mateo Union High School District acknowledges intersectionality of disability with all other forms of discrimination and will strive to provide information, instruction, and disability history and the disability rights movement to enhance the understanding of disability by incorporating social, cultural, historical, and legal perspectives, including the connections between disability and other identities. Disability is a fact of human experience and not the exception in.
Whereas the San Mateo Union High School District prioritizes the support and education of its 97 students in our Bay Academy, and 80 students serve the Bay class and the Bay University program to reach their full potential. And
Whereas orange is a color symbolizing energy and positivity. It's also the official color of Development Disabilities Awareness Month. Our San Mateo Union High School District schools will encourage the wearing of orange to spread a positive message for inclusion.
Therefore, it be resolved by the governing board of the San Mateo Union High School District understands its responsibility to recognize March 2024 as National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month and strives to honor and include all people with disabilities and consciously promote and foster inclusive, safe, and welcoming environments for all.
Okay. San Mateo Union High School District passed and adopted by the governing board of the San Mateo Union High School District on the 22nd day of February 2024. Yay! I did it!
Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Do we have, so I'm gonna ask for some board comments. Trustee Griffin, do you have any comments?
Well, that's unique in the history of the district. And I think every day, every time we have a board meeting and I think, oh boy, we haven't done that before. And I think that really was well done. And I really applaud those students for their efforts. That was not easy.
Thank you. Trustee Chavez.
I have to echo that, Trustee Griffin. Unique, and there were a lot of folks involved, and everyone, it's just touching, and I applaud those students and everybody who's supporting them, helping them with the resolution. Listening to the resolution, it just hurts me to, it has to think about part of the resolution says that, children with disabilities and their families were previously denied access to services and education and often placed in restrictive, inhumane conditions, overcrowded institutions. It's just, that upsets me. And we have to have laws so that we can do the right thing.
There has to be a
It
law.
upsets me,
Mhm.
right? But I'm glad we have the laws, and I'm glad, I'm so grateful for our district highlighting this resolution, having amazing students who they're fearless. They're right there. And it just warms, I don't want to, I'm emotional. I better be quiet. Thanks you, everybody. Thank you,
You're
everybody.
human, it's okay.
Yes, this is a highlight, one of the highlights of my month, and just watching that video, the only thing that would have been better was if the students were here, because it was absolutely perfect as it was. Absolutely perfect. Couldn't have been read any better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Jacobson.
I agree. It was very touching, very moving. I was really surprised actually to learn that 1 in 6, that's a lot. And I'm also grateful that our district is really putting the resources into serving all of these individuals. We're really lucky. Thanks.
Yes. So disability justice is my jam. It's, you know, it's something that not only affects my own life, but for so long, people with disabilities had been ignored and had been warehoused and locked up in institutions. And I am grateful for our district with all of the wonderful programs that we have. I'm very grateful for Holly Wade and her team that put this together. The students here are great, and they're great because we have a district that believes that it's not just about inclusion because of inclusion. It's because it's disability is a beautiful part of human diversity. The social model of disability teaches that the person with a disability isn't the one that's wrong or that's sick or that needs to be changed in any way. It's our world that's inaccessible that needs to be changed, and that's sick and that's wrong. And so this is the perfect example of that. One of our alumni from Burlingame High School, her name is Mei Chen Moy. She graduated in 2015, and she just got back from the UN. She represented the United States as an environmental justice representative, and she was there. And so she's at UCLA. I mean, this is the caliber of education that we provide for our students here. So excellent, excellent. Unfortunately, we still have things like eugenics. We still have things like inequality in housing, inequality in employment, discrepancies in having enough funds to live. And it still needs to change. We still have a long way to go. So please, if you all want to get involved, the San Mateo County Commission on Disabilities has a youth and family committee that is specifically addressing issues for youth and families in San Mateo County. All of the different organizations out there that need volunteers. This is why. So thank you. Now, can I entertain a motion to approve this proclamation?
I move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Great. A motion by Trustee Jacobson and a second by Trustee Chavez. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson?
Aye.
Trustee Chavez?
Aye.
I vote aye. Student Board Representatives, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. And now we will go on to the consent agenda. Is there anyone that wishes to pull anything from the consent agenda? Okay. All right. I would like to entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Okay. Trustee Jacobson moves to approve.
I'll second that.
Trustee Chavez seconds. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Chavez?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes. And I didn't take public comment. Okay. Okay, we will go on to the regular reports. First, the report by Superintendent Booker.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. February's been an exciting month, and we have a lot to look forward to with regard to the month of March as well. I have a number of things to go over. I'm going to go quickly, but not too quickly for our interpreters. March 11th is anticipated to mark the first day of Ramadan, a holy month of worship observed by Muslims around the world. It's a month that exemplifies the Islamic values of gratitude, strengthening bonds of kinship, spirituality, and maximizing acts of charity. Muslim staff and students in our classrooms will be fasting from dawn to sunset, starting the evening of Monday, March 11th through Tuesday, April 9th, with the celebratory days of Eid al-Fitr, anticipated to be observed April 10th through the 13th, depending on the phase of the moon, and it's the sighting of the next crescent moon that marks the end of the holy month. And as a district, I emphatically want to communicate that we support Muslim students and educators, especially during this month of religious observation. My next topic is the OYE conference. I think we've got a slide that's going to go up behind us here. Thank you. Okay, so we've got the OYE Latinx Youth Conference 12th Annual coming up. Raise your voice, raise your community. Registration is now open for the 12th Annual OYE Latinx Youth Conference on Saturday, March 23rd at Kenyatta College in Redwood City. This free all-day conference held from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. brings together hundreds of local teens and young adults and their families to explore questions of identity and purpose. The conference helps to build community through a fun and interactive day that includes hands-on workshops, inspirational speakers, artistic expression, community resource sharing, and networking. The conference will feature performances, interactive workshops, resource tables, and a free breakfast and lunch for all in-person participants. We also just learned that OYE is looking for workshop facilitators. So if you want to get involved, and I really encourage you do so, and if you want to learn more, you want to register, there's QR code there. We'll be pushing this out, and we already have been pushing this out through all of our normal communication channels. I know the County Office of Education will be pushing out a lot of information as well. So I really encourage everyone to get involved and attend and support this really incredible conference. Moving on, February is CTE month. February is Career and Technical Education Month. In CTE classes, students gain real-world experience through relevant hands-on projects that combine content knowledge with industry-specific technical skills. San Mateo Union High School District offers CTE classes in career sectors such as building and construction, information technology, hospitality, engineering, and architecture, and arts and media and entertainment. Exciting futuring offerings include interior design and introduction to the trades. And for more information about CTE offerings here at San Mateo Union High School District, take a look at our pathway guide at www.SMUHSD.org/CTE. School Social Work Week is March 3rd through the 9th. San Mateo Union High School District celebrates the amazing work of our school social workers in advocating for student well-being. They bring unique knowledge and skills to the school system and our student services team. They're trained in mental health. They're trained mental health professionals who can assist with mental health concerns, behavioral concerns, positive behavioral support, academic, attendance, and classroom support, consultation with teachers, parents, and administrators, as well as student and family connection to community resources. Our school social workers are instrumental in furthering the mission of the schools, which is to provide a setting for learning, teaching, and for the attainment of competence and confidence. School social workers are hired by school districts to enhance the district's ability to meet its academic mission, especially where home, school, and community collaboration is the key to achieving student success. Really big thank you to our social workers for everything you do, especially for our students and their families. Chelsea Chang, Teresa Dianda, Melina Diaz, Dagoberto Espinosa, and Danny Tostado. Really big thanks to everyone. Thank you for all the work you do every day. And lastly, I'm going to go off script a little bit here. I just want to acknowledge that last week I attended the National Superintendent's Conference. It's about 5,000 superintendents that come around from all over the country and Canada. And one of the biggest, I would say the two biggest focus of this conference was how do we support multilingual learners, which is a huge focus of ours in this district. I learned a lot. And secondly, how artificial intelligence is going to impact education, and it is here to stay. there were hundreds of classes from which to choose over a 4-day conference, and there were so many on artificial intelligence. I was a little bit overloaded, but it's really exciting. I'm really eager to speak with district and site administrators and educators moving forward, because there's a lot on the horizon and a lot of excitement on what AI can do to support students, educators, and families moving forward. So I really appreciated the opportunity, and it was a great chance also to get feedback on some of the things, a lot of the things we're doing right. Sometimes you go to these conferences and you're learning about, oh yeah, we do that here. Oh yeah, we do that here. Oh yeah. And so it's a little bit of affirming that we're on the right path. So big thanks to the district for that opportunity, and looking forward to communicating a lot of the outcomes and things I learned moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Before I go on to the next segment, I just wanted to make a comment to your first point about Ramadan. I wanted to acknowledge just all of the suffering, especially the young people that are just going through so much right now. We should keep people in our thoughts, and especially right now with Ramadan. Thank you. Okay, going on to the report of student board representatives.
So at our most recent student board meeting, we discussed like upcoming study sessions on the Brown Act and Robert's Rule of Order, the LAC program, and AI, as mentioned by Superintendent Booker. And also during the last Let's Talk event at the Millbrae Community Center, several of our student board members attended to help with the implementation of support systems for incoming students. And we were all just so delighted to join our community leaders to discuss these ways to just level disparities in education and overall make our communities and school districts much more welcoming for minority students. And just hearing everyone's voices there was such a wonderful experience. We're so thankful for this. And we're also really looking forward to our next opportunity of joining the April Let's Talk. Additionally, the student board is planning to go to a Giants game together this April for some team bonding and just for fun. So we're looking forward to that too.
Yeah, like Jasleen mentioned, we continued learning about board processes, such as the Robert Rules of Order. In an earlier meeting, not the most recent one, but in an earlier one, we had Miss Fight as a special guest, and we learned about the multilingual learner program, which is a core pillar of the district, and we plan on continuing to explore that as a group. Next month, we'll also take a look at the local control accountability plan. So I'm excited to learn more about that and see more about that. Superintendent Booker mentioned that this is CTE month. So excited to see the district offering our schools new opportunities for CTEs in the upcoming fall, such as interior design, Photoshop, 3D art. So thank you for that. And I also just want to thank the district for helping make the Pride Prom possible, helps foster inclusion with the students, uplifts and celebrates people, all genders and all sexualities. And we're excited for that as an opportunity to both connect with other students, and also grateful for the district to uplifting people of all backgrounds. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent report. Don't forget to invite us to the Giants game, okay? Okay, going on to the report of the District Teachers Association reps. Mr. Childress.
Thank you. Good evening, President Andrade Zuniga, members of the board, and district cabinet. It's hard to believe that this week marks entering the last third of the year. It's been a busy one, but it's always every February, March, students hear about college, seniors hear about college acceptance. People are starting to talk about prom and graduation and all the fun things that they can look forward to at the end of the year. It's always an exciting time. It's always a trying time as well, to try and make sure that we get everything done that we want to get done and meet our goals. But yet another milestone. I would want to echo a number of trustees mentioning of the students who spoke on behalf of Disability Awareness Month. A lot of things were said that I agree with, but I'll say a couple of things that I noticed. just the confidence and the enthusiasm of the students was truly impressive and notable. It makes me proud to know that we have programs for those kids, for kids who are affected by disabilities, that can provide them with an opportunity to be confident and really excited about what they're doing in school. Looking forward to glad to see that the district has its bargaining negotiations proposal, or its initial proposal, before the board tonight. We are working on the association proposal and should have it to the district in the next within the next, well, in a very short time. And we're looking forward to bargaining again, that another springtime regular occurrence. So looking forward to that. Next Monday, the trustees may not be aware, but the representatives of the district and the labor groups will be meeting together for the San Mateo County Labor Management Initiative meeting. And it's a great opportunity for groups to get together and to talk about common goals, common threads, and processes moving forward. And again, just, you know, a sense of pride that we have a relationship in which we can work collaboratively and cooperatively on these issues. The last thing I'll say is another important day coming up, March 5th, the primary election. This is going to be a really important election for everyone involved in the state of California, every student, every parent, every family. I just encourage you all to get out and vote, and encourage everyone else to get out and vote. Our future really depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please vote. Going on to the report of the CSEA Chapter 519 rep. Oh, we have you in person today. Thank you.
Well, I'll slow my roll. Well, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you all in person. I wrote it all down because I do it so much better when it's written down. So, good evening to the esteemed members of the San Mateo Union School Board, the SMUHSD staff, and the student representatives. Nice to have you here to participate. I'm Robin Clemens. I am the president of the California School Employees Association at CSEA, Chapter 519, for all the classified staff at the school district. We are pretty much everybody but the teachers, essentially. There are over 555 classified staff in our chapter who work very hard every day to create and maintain these great schools, programs, and facilities, and keep all systems running at the best for the students, teachers, and everyone who passes by or through the schools. I'm a strong advocate for the classified staff because they're oftentimes the invisible people behind the scenes that make everyone else at the district look great. But, you know, excuse me. All I ask in return is the district supports our effort to be treated with respect, fairness, and a nice dose of equity. Equality is not sufficient because we aren't given the same tools to be successful. But I'm not asking for more. I would just like to see, for instance, equal tools for success. And actually, my director of maintenance operations and facilities use, Linda Carlton, has been working closely with Yancy Hawkins, who usually sits there, to improve the situation. Because what they realized is that when supplying IT technology equipment across the district, some of the computers are very old in the areas where some of our classified staff works. You know, if nothing else, Lulu had even mentioned it, or a meeting I had with her last week, is that you can't get emergency messages if you can't access your email. So all that will be addressed and taken care of soon, and I appreciate the extra effort that those folks are making it happen. Our union and the district collaborated last year to make a work from home MOU, memorandum of understanding, which contains a list of manager approved classified positions to take 9 days, up to 9 days a year to work from home, which I consider a privilege that you should have this. But as usual, there's always groups of folks that will take advantage of it. And for the most part, we don't. There are people that do it. And as long as you can successfully make your deadlines, produce your documents, deliverables, or whatever processing you're doing from home, it should be something that you can do. But unfortunately, like everything else, even though there's some that abuse the privilege, there are other departments where the managers only allow their favorites to work from home and not all others. So I'd like them to make a little extra effort to note this and work a little more fairly when it comes to allowing the staff to do that. And now I'm going to sound like a mom. In general, I'd like to remind everyone that they do not work in a void. Don't be sneaky and think people aren't seeing you, because they are. And if you can't be fair, at least be kind and respectful to others and their feelings and beliefs. Please remember to try to collaborate or make compromise that's good for everybody, and we'll be able to retain the best employees in the district and makes us all winners. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to report of the San Mateo Adult School Teachers Association. Do we have Ms. Diamond on the line?
We have Mr. Demetrius Booker.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
You can unmute and turn on your camera, Mr. Booker.
If you insist. Good evening, distinguished board members. Thank you for the opportunity to present today to talk to you. My name is Demetrius Booker. I'm a union delegate from the San Mateo Adult School. I'm a teacher as well. And as a union, we'd like to take a moment reflection on the recent passing of former San Mateo Adult School Director Stuart Diamond at the youthful age of 93. As you may recall, on August the 10th, 2023, Jeannie Diamond, his daughter, shared a summary of San Mateo Adult School history and how we came to be where we are today. It was noted that Director Diamond started a project of what is now the San Mateo Adult and Career Education Smart Center. I'd like to point out a couple of his milestones that he came across while he was director at the adult school from July 1989 to June 1997. He was also a principal at San Mateo High School, and prior to that, assistant principal at Argonne. We appreciate his dedication to education and the amazing legacy he has left for us. And with that, I'd like to move on. And we have a message in recognition of Black History Month. This is what we came together as a group. February marks Black History Month, celebration of Black individuals' immense contributions to shaping of our society. Their unwavering courage, resilience, and pursuit of justice and equity have inspired generations globally. Educators hold a critical responsibility to weave this rich tapestry into our curriculum and foster meaningful conversations about race and identity. By exploring the struggles and triumphs of Black individuals, we empower our students to understand the significance of diversity, inclusion, and social justice. Let this month be dedicated to exploring untold stories, amplifying Black voices, and creating an inclusive learning environment where every student feels valued and empowered. Okay, and now we want to highlight two of our many active adult programs. So the active adults are 50 plus. So what is an active adult? We consider any adult who wants to spend time enjoying life, expanding their mind, and socializing, an active adult. So during February, the adult school is exhibiting paintings created by African-American artists Jane Polk and Jane Williams. Jean and Jane attended an active adult program, fine art classes, offered through the San Mateo Adult and Career Education in partnership with the Foster City Recreation Center. So paintings by artists Jean and Jane are currently on display in the lobby of the San Mateo Adult and Career Education Center. Feel free to come by and view these museum quality works of art. So teachers are treated to soul food and documentary calling High on the Hog about food. The food was fantastic. I had to really commend them for bringing that on board. This documentary, it's on Netflix, and it talks about the history of soul food, how the food was brought over from Africa, and how it has grown into a really segment of American cuisine. So another fantastic, I would say if you got Netflix, take a peek at it. It's really fascinating. Another fantastic class the Adult Active program is offering afternoon at the Opera, prep for the Met. Let's see, Deborah Rodnowski and mezzo soprano. A mezzo soprano who performs locally. I messed your name up, I apologize. Who performs locally will review operas being performed live at the Met and simulcast in HD at selected theaters here in the Bay Area. Opera. The class is fully online. You can join via Zoom from the comfort at your home. And it's coming up soon in March. For more information, just check our website, click on Community Ed or Active Adult Programs. Finally, we want to give a shout out to Patty Villar. Patty is also continuing her amazing work and aligning us with local community colleges by having college information sessions. These will be followed by a tour of the college and anticipation next month. Now, we have a curriculum at our school. We're working on having dual enrollment with some of the community colleges so that we can teach courses on site at the Smart Center, and our students can get academic credit. And this has really been helpful in facilitating adult school students into trickling over to some of the community colleges. So it's a great program, and Patty's doing an outstanding job for it. So again, thank you for this opportunity to address everyone, and we look forward to having you stop by and meet with us anytime.
Thank you. That's excellent. Yeah, it's always great to hear about the history of the district and just in the history of the area. It's really, really neat. Thank you for your report.
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, we'll go on to item Q, special reports and appearances. Going on to the 23-24 WASC action plans. Dr. Kemke.
So we have all of our principals here tonight to present their WASP plan. This work reflects the efforts of their whole staff reflecting on their school program. It's something that happens every 6 years. And we'll hear the highlights tonight from their action plans. And given the depth of the analysis this process requires, the WASC action plans will be presented as the school plan for school achievement and for student achievement for this school year. The school site teams have approved these or endorsed them as such. So I think we're really looking forward to hearing from all of the good work they've done. And I think we're gonna do it in alphabetical order because that's the way that's attached to the board items. So Miss Valerie Arbuzo is gonna come up and speak for Aragon.
Yay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Valerie Arbizu. I'm the principal of Aragon High School, and the WASP process, as Julia mentioned, we do this every 6 years, and it gives us an opportunity to kind of peel back the layers of the onion and really look at how we're doing as a school, all the good stuff, all the stuff that needs, a little extra love and care. And at the end of it, we put together an action plan, and ideally, it kind of lays out what we'd like to do as a school for, the next probably 3 years or so. With the knowledge that if something else comes up and the staff identifies something else that we really need to do, we can always adjust this. It is a living document. For now, we have 4 goals, and these are all identified by the full staff with student and parent participation. Our first goal is to connect all students to academic and skill-based success. In a nutshell, that means we're really looking to make sure that all of our students graduate from our school, having had some solid choice in the electives that they take, that our counselors have been working with them. They have hands-on learning opportunities, that we work through establishing and maintaining strong curricular partnerships, both within the district and with our partners in the K through 8 districts in the area, and looking at different ways that we can use flex time to support student needs, all with the ideal of supporting student success in their post-high school endeavors, whatever that might be. Our second goal is to connect all of our stakeholders to school and community and our culture. So this is focusing on relationship building and safe schools for all of our kids. We've been focusing a lot on humanizing our school and removing as much as possible dehumanizing language and behaviors. So that's where this lives, including continuing our work on our Aragon Cares work. So that's making sure that all of our students are connected, achieving, respectful, engaging, and showing spirit. Those are our 5 primary values. Our third goal is working together to create common Tier 1 instructional agreements. So making sure that every kid every day gets what they need in order to be successful. This is where we will be focusing a lot of our work in the next several years on how we support our multilingual learners and making sure that they have everything that they need in order to be more successful, because we do recognize that's not just a gap in the district or the state, it's a gap at Aragon High School too. And we're not okay with that gap. Also included in this goal is taking a look at our A to G completion rates and equitable school-wide grading policies and making sure that we're working with kids in every way possible to support their achievement. And then finally, we're looking at how we work together as a school-wide staff in our 4th goal, and that is all about supporting collaborative and effective strategic planning. So making sure that we have systems and processes in place to support each other as we're coming up with new goals and identifying data that we really want to use rather than looking at everything all the time. So we're looking forward to it. WASC is arduous. It takes a year, but we end up with some solid goals and a plan for moving forward. Thank you.
Excellent.
All right, now we'll have Dr. Jen Fong come up and present for Burlingame.
Greetings. Thank you, Principal Arbizu, for explaining a little bit about the general process. So I'll just jump into Burlingame's goals. So we are aligned to the district's LCAP goals. So in our first goal, the 2 LCAP goals are authentic relationships and safe and connected communities. So our first action plan goal is to develop safe spaces that center the voices of marginalized students and groups. And as Principal Arbizu said, this is a very rigorous process that we engage with our community. We have a lot of focus groups with students, with our classified staff, with our certificated staff, with our parents, to find out what is going on at the school and what do we need to do moving forward for the next few years. Our second goal, clarify and further develop systems of support to address students' academic and social needs, including school-wide alignment of key instructional practices. So we are working a lot on making sure that we have similar practices in place at 9th grade and then vertically aligned from 9th to 12th. Our third goal is to empower students to seek academic and career pathways that align with their passions. And this is a particularly important goal at this time of the year as students are choosing their courses. We are using the 4-year plan option that is in Aries. So students, freshmen, are actually looking at what they might want to do 3 years from now, as well as juniors looking at what they might do in August. And finally, our fourth goal is to leverage professional learning to address evolving challenges in education and to sustain an academic community that is inclusive and supportive of all learners. So we are looking forward to having our WASP visit next month, and we look forward to having the participation of the members of this room. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, Principal Jose Gomez of Cappuccino.
All right, good evening. So before I go into explaining some of our action item goals, I just first want to thank the parents and students for taking part in this process. Obviously, as you heard already, it takes over a year and a number of focus groups and meetings and input sessions that we've been taking part of, and parents and students are a key component of that. So I really appreciate their engagement in that. I also wanted to acknowledge some of the focus group leaders that took on that added responsibility of facilitating groups and coordinating meetings and creating notes and stuff documents that we've asked them to take. And then lastly, I just want to acknowledge my co-chair, my WAS chair, Mr. Adam Faber, for stepping up and facilitating and organizing our self-study, which is a task within a task, and he has multiple hats on campus, and just wanted to acknowledge his hard work. We have 5 action plan goals that we've adopted via the school site council as of January 22nd. The first one is on organizational coherence, and this comes about as a new administration, me being in my second year, a number of turnover administrators at the AP level, but also just the school is changing as far as making sure we revise our mission and vision for our school, and then develop clear and transparent processes of the school organizational leadership structure, and that is aligned to our mission and vision. Some of the key action items, I won't go into all the action items that we've identified that we want to work on under this goal, is to make sure to create and implement practices of clearly communicating with our stakeholders, staff, and students, and then also creating more seats for our parents' participation in our LPL, School Site Council, and Latino Parent Organization, as an example. Goal 2 is around school culture, developing and strengthening school initiatives and cultivating a sense of belonging and connectedness. And as I've presented to the board previously, that's been a common theme we've kind of have been kind of hammering away at, and it's a core belief that we've been kind of redoing each reminding staff, to continue this practice. And then create, one of the action items is to create a culture day or event of multicultural sharing. That this is a lot of student input came from this. Another piece is explore SEL programs to promote empathy with the focus on tier 1 and 9th graders. And then the other piece is establish and reinforce student-centered and cultural traditions, and examine also past traditions that we have on campus to make sure they're relevant and healthy ones. The next action item is 3, which is categorized under equitable educational experiences, which is implementing common instructional frameworks that is going to be aligned to the district's framework and tied to our IB learner profile as well, which will be some work that we will have to do there. And then also develop common classroom practices, grading and assessment practices, behavior norms, and systems of academic support. Some of the action items that I just want to highlight, one that I'm excited about is piloting academic and SEL intervention course for 9th graders to support transition from middle school. Identifying common classroom practices. And then the last action item I want to highlight is implementing EBI, evidence-based academic support, for our MTSS structure, specifically in tier 1 and tier 2. And then for our goal 4, which is access and learning agency, increases access to CTE pathways and really highlighting trades, job skills, and post-secondary options. And one of the things that we've identified is how do we tap into the local unions to expose our students to more trades. That way they get access to union trades. And then the last piece is expanding existing CTE pathways that we have on campus and look at partnering up with neighboring schools to support that as well. And then our last goal is around school safety, and this is regarding confronting and preventing issues of hate speech, bullying, harassment, so students feel safe, and work to promote inclusivity, empathy, and equity in the community. And then one of the things is that we want to work towards is creating a protocol to respond to hate speech, bullying, sexual harassment, and then implementing school-wide events addressing racism and hate speech. And then lastly, providing support for our classified and certificated staff regarding this as well and how to respond to that. Those are our goals, and thank you again. And we look forward to our WASC visit because that gives us probably other feedback and they shed a light on things that we may need to grow on, which is always an opportunity as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Principal Jeff Gilbert from Hillsdale.
President Andrade Zuniga, members of the board, Superintendent Booker, members of the cabinet. I once heard Linda Darling Hammond say that the failure of American high schools is in their lack of coherence. That is, they are too big, they are too messy, too many people are doing too many different things. Structures are incomprehensible to adults and to students. So we've really tried to think about this WASC process as a way to create coherence. That means, how do we ensure that we're all on the same page, that we're all pulling in the same direction? And that has taken a lot of work. We have then centered our action plan around the 4 cornerstones that drive Hillsdale's work. And so each of our cornerstones has a goal or a set of goals underneath that. I'll start with the cornerstone of academic rigor. And the work there has been ongoing for the last year as Hillsdale has redefined what we call our graduate profile. Graduate profile names the attributes we want students to demonstrate in their 4 years at Hillsdale. Those are their ability to demonstrate literacy, their ability to apply knowledge, their ability to communicate effectively, and then to develop both a sense of self and a sense of community. So our goal under academic rigor is to make sure that those attributes of the graduate profile are demonstrated in all classes across all 4 years, and that students have an opportunity to demonstrate those attributes in authentic ways, both within their classes and then across the school-wide system. We're also working to ensure that, in particular, our instructional practices in the classroom related to the graduate profile are supporting our students who are most at risk of failure in school. And so we are really thinking particularly about our multilingual learners. The second goal is around our culture and particularly our cornerstone of equity, and really trying to think about not just the academic support for our multilingual learners, but our social support as they are moving into our standard program, and that we are trying to utilize our structures such as advisory and smaller learning communities to ensure the transition of our students into the larger school and ensure their success. We're also, as other schools have mentioned, really thinking deeply about creating a culture of positive and inclusive language on campus. Our third cornerstone is personalization. And so our work there is around looking back at our advisory program and our smaller learning communities, ensuring that after 20 years, those systems are still relevant and that they have been updated to the needs of our students, creating a coherent scope and sequence for the advisory program to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students, and then ensuring that our Empowerment Through Action program and other Tier 2 supports are tightly woven into our larger school system so that communication systems and the adults who work with students are all aligned. And then finally, our fourth cornerstone is the idea of shared decision-making. So one of our goals under there is just to ensure that our model can continue, that it's sustainable, that systems both support students and staff as we do the work, and that we are inclusive in terms of not just language, but in bringing voices into our shared decision-making model. Like the other schools, we look forward to our visit. Thank you all for your ongoing support, and we look forward to a wonderful report from our visiting committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now from Mills, Principal Pam Dazinski.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to share with you our WASC action plans and our goals. Similar to many of the schools up here, our goals just mirror those of our LCAP for our district, with 4 overarching goals around relationships, school culture and climate, learning and professional development, and growth of our staff. We strengthen relationships with our students when we listen to them. By listening to our student voices at Mills, especially those of our most marginalized groups of students, we aim to design Tier 1 interventions at the classroom that serve all students. So we firmly believe that when we focus on the students who are struggling the most in a classroom, we find insight into strategies that will support all students at all levels. So one example of this is this past October, when we listened to a group of students who talked about restorative practices and the impact that restorative practices had on them and their learning experience at Mills. So we aim to do more work around that to strengthen relationships with our students. Second, we strengthen our school culture and climate when we respond to hate-motivated behavior and when we work with students to create inclusive, safe spaces for all students. So we're committed to implementing our in-house protocol for responding to hate-motivated behavior or hate speech when it arises, along with the board policy 5145.9. And we really take space to train staff in those protocols and in that policy. We also hope to work with our student equity team next fall on an assembly to involve them in creating this culture of upstanding and belonging at Mills. Third, we improve our classroom instruction for all students when we address equity gaps. So I think it was last week, our math department head and an assistant principal joined the math district intervention task force, which met here at the district office to closely look at the math pathways across all of our school sites, including Mills, to look at what we're doing to support students who struggle with math and how we're also accelerating students who are finding success. And we know that Algebra 2 is a gatekeeper for our students in terms of A through G eligibility. So that's something we really want to put a spotlight on in the next year to figure out why our students are not either taking Algebra 2 in their regular math sequence and why they're not succeeding in Algebra 2. And how do we interrupt that and make sure that all of our students have the opportunity to take this class and meet A through G eligibility. We create powerful learning communities when we model as a staff what we need to see in our classrooms. So for our professional development, we really try to model creating norms, instructional strategies, things that we want our teachers to do in the classroom. Just yesterday, as a staff, we spent January PD Day creating some staff norms, and we modeled the norm, stay curious. Be patient and stay curious. And it kind of summarizes where we're at after the first 6 weeks of this semester. How do we know our students best right now after 6 months of being with them? How do we be patient with them during these last 12 weeks, but still remain intensely curious about how to support their success and move them forward? So thank you for this opportunity to share our work. Go Vikings, 58-32 over Aptus. So we're in the Division III finals Saturday. Congratulations, Mills Vikings out there.
All right. Final, but not least, we have actually the self-study coordinator from San Mateo here, Mr. David Peary. I don't know if I had that last name right, but.
That's right. Thank you. Good evening. So as other schools have noted, we arrived at these action plans after pretty extensive input from staff, students, and community members, and also analysis of more global school data. The student focus group that we worked with drew from our senior AVID classes, the Student Equity Council at San Mateo, and also the ELD Club. So we think we got a pretty good cross-section of San Mateo students. And also just kind of a note for the board and the public, the staff of San Mateo High was remarkably, I think, engaged and thoughtful through this process. And I have felt very lucky to work with them. And I think we should all feel lucky to have them working here. So I'll take you through our 4 goals. The first one is to support ELD students' success in content area courses. So ELD students are a large and growing population at San Mateo. In the last 4 years, students in ELD 1 to 3, we've had a low of 108 students and a high of 192. And we know that the academic experience of those students is going to change substantially as we are going to be moving them into mainstream classes on average earlier than they had been. So we have written a goal to support them, to support those newly mainstream students in their success academically. The goal includes PD for teachers on differentiation and strategies to help those students. More time for teachers to align assessment practices so that students will move into new courses with predictable policies and practices. And also support for, we know that ELD students are much more likely than students on average to have major interruptions to their formal education, trauma related to immigration, substandard living conditions here, et cetera. So we've also included social and emotional supports for those students and spaces for them to share their experiences with each other. Our second goal is about refining and improving school systems to ensure more equitable access to resources and support. The anecdotal evidence shows that this is kind of a lingering symptom of the COVID pandemic. We, in somewhat of an ad hoc way, introduced a lot of communication systems. Individual teachers had kind of individual systems. We feel we need to kind of systematically streamline some of that to make it more predictable and more digestible for students and their families. Students in the focus group expressed that they do not know what staff member to approach for various things. Some students thought that one of our security guards was the dean. So we feel that we need to communicate a little more clearly. There's a high volume of communication going out, but there's obviously a little bit of a disconnect for students and families. This is somewhat hard to support with data, but around 17% of respondents to the Panorama survey rated communication from the school somewhere between a medium and a very large problem. But the more telling statistic, I think, is that only 364 responses were gathered in a school of around 1,600 students. We also talked about transparency in various systems like the master schedule, and also a revision or recommitment to practices around discipline and clarifying some of those. Our third goal is about CTE. We feel that the work of our career counselor has been excellent, and we're hoping to provide opportunities for her to meet with students and provide them with information, especially on careers that do not require a four-year college degree, more during the school day. So I think the principal of Cappuccino, I believe, noted that there may be opportunities, given that we all have the same schedule now, there may be opportunities for more collaboration across sites. So we're hoping for that. And we're also hoping that we can align with some, align with the community college district and other local unions and trade organizations. And then our final goal is to increase diverse participation and representation in some of our most visible academic and co-curricular programs. In particular, we're looking at our AP courses and our leadership program. So we know that particularly our Latino students are badly underrepresented in AP courses. Most AP courses at San Mateo are around or under 10% Latino students. And that's at a school where the Latino population has been pretty steady, around 50%. We are also hoping to increase participation in leadership among particularly Latino students, but also Pacific Islanders. students in the special ed program and ELD students. And our current leadership teacher has some good ideas, I think, on that. And we're hoping that we'll support her as she moves forward with some of those ideas. Thank you for your attention. And thank you especially, I think Robert Griffin and Julia Kempke will be participating with us during our visit. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
Excellent.
All right, so I'll just say, as you can hear from the presentations, that a tremendous amount of work from all members of their school community are part of this process. And in the first few weeks of March, all 6 of the schools are going to be going through this process, and many of you are invited to be there welcoming the visiting committee when they come to visit the school and kind of validate and look at what they see through the visit. So we're looking tonight for approval of these WASC action plans in lieu of the SPSAs, the SIPSAs.
Thank you. At this moment, does the board have any comments or questions? Okay, yes, go ahead.
I was trying to allow my colleagues to go first. I just wanted to say thank you to all of our school site leaders here for coming in person and for going through the details of your plans. I think it takes a lot of work, and that's not an understatement. I mean, that's an understatement right there. I know it takes a lot of work. So all hands were on deck for these plans, and I just want to thank you for all the work. And I look forward to the WASC site visit. I think a few of us attended one last year for the adult school, so I look forward to attending the ones that we're all invited to. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, definitely a lot of work. And I mean, our district is excellent. Every single school has such great leaders, and I don't know, there's so much I can say there. It's amazing. And I'm glad that we're able to participate in coming to see the presentation. So thank you. Okay, I can entertain a motion now.
Bob's got his hand up.
Oh, yes, sorry. Trustee Griffin, go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you. I was trying to go by the rules from the old days of COVID, but I am looking forward to participating at San Mateo. And I got to recognize all the hard work that all the campuses put into this. I mean, this just can't be easy work, and doing this and doing all the other stuff that you're responsible for. And it shows a diversity, because there were a few themes, collaboration, equity and stuff, but there was a lot of ideas, a lot of areas of emphasis that were different at the campuses. So it wasn't, I don't think it was not a cookie cutter. So it took a lot of effort to come up with what really was needed at those campuses. But anyway, it's good. It's good to hear those reports. And I hate to say it's good to see the principals there at the meetings. And I can't see their reactions. So
they're smiling. Yeah, no, definitely. I echo everything that Trustee Griffin says. So I'd like to entertain do we have to take public comment?
Yeah.
Yes. Is there anyone online?
There is not.
Okay, thank you. There's no one in person, so thank you. Okay, now I can entertain a motion.
I'd like to make the motion to pass.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Approve.
motion by
Approve.
Trustee Chavez,
I will second.
second by Trustee Jacobson. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
aye.
Trustee Chavez,
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson,
Aye.
and I vote aye, and motion passes. Thank you. And student board reps, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now the motion passes. All right. Let's see. Please. Thank you.
Stop, 'cause I can't see.
Sure. Go ahead. Okay. Now we'll go on to the next item, which is proceeds from the sale of Crestmore. The survey results.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. So this evening, we're going to talk a little bit about and present a slide deck around the survey results of our certificated and classified educators across the district with regard to how to allocate proceeds from the sale of Crestmore. And just as a little bit of a background, Crestmore High School is a 40-acre property that was closed as a comprehensive high school back in 1980 due to declining enrollment. And the Crestmore property was then used to house the district's continuation school, Peninsula High School, until Peninsula was later relocated to their facility in 2021. Back in March of 2019, the board voted to declare Crestmore surplus property. And the district is in the process of finalizing the sale of the former Crestmore High School site in San Bruno to Summerhill Homes for a negotiated sale price of approximately $85 million. And by law, what I want to remind the community is that the proceeds received from this sale can only be used for facility related investments. They can't be used for salaries, FTE, instructional supplies, any of those kinds of things. And so at a previous board study session on January 22nd, a previous study session, the board gave direction to district staff to send out a survey to learn more about how these proceeds could be spent for the greatest benefit of our district to help guide the next steps in prioritizing allocation of the proceeds. The survey was voluntary, anonymous, and focused specifically on employee interest in below market rate rental housing for our employees. So I want to recommend that people watching at home take a look at the board agenda, because attached to it is this brief background, but not only the slide deck, but all the raw data from the survey itself. It's a lot of information there. So, again, this is based on the October 12th board study session. Educators were last surveyed in 2019, but the board wanted to better understand employees' current interest in below market rate rental housing. It was open January 22nd to the 5th. About 506 educators participated. About 48% certificated, 50% classified, and around 2% of administrators and managers. 75% employed at the district for less than 10 years participated, and this includes 40.7% who've been employed by the district for less than 5 years. Over a third of the respondents, 35%, commute less than 20 minutes one way to work, with around 65% of respondents commuting 30 minutes or less each way to work. So we asked a number of questions. I'm going to highlight some of those this evening. The first one was, would you be interested in living in new rental housing offered at below market rents in San Mateo County, reserved for San Mateo Union High School employees? It's a little chopped off there on my screen, so let me just pull this up here. Yeah, so it's 13.4% said somewhat interested, 35.6% very interested, 51% not interested. How should the board allocate the proceeds from the sale of Crestmore? Again, pretty split. A mix of staff housing and district-wide facility projects, 45.8%. Staff housing solely, 30%, and district-wide facility projects solely, 24.1%. So, with this information, we didn't get this overwhelming one way or the other. It was kind of a mixed bag on what educators are wanting or thinking about. And so one of the things, as I look at it, is what are the opportunities that we might have moving forward with the monetary proceeds from the sale of Crestmore. And the one thing I've been asking myself is, when it comes to educator housing, what problem are we trying to solve? Educator housing is a solution to a problem. And we're recognizing that rent on the peninsula is very high. That's the truth. And with that said, it's not as if there's a shortage of available units. There are plenty of units. It's just the rent's really high. But are we seeing an issue like some other districts are when they initiate employee housing? Are we seeing an issue or a problem with recruitment? Employee housing is a recruitment tool. It's a way to try to attract employees to your district to provide them a financial break in housing. And other than small pockets of employees in certain classifications here and there, we're not seeing massive recruitment issues across our district. We're not seeing massive retention issues across our district. So I'm not convinced yet, and the survey certainly doesn't convince me yet, that staff housing, or at least spending all the money that we're going to receive from the proceeds of the sale of Crestmore, should be spent on staff housing, because I don't know if that's solving the problem that we have. Based on the survey results that I see, there might be some opportunities here to address some additional facility needs that we have across the district, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And I do think I would ultimately recommend that we look at opportunities to partner with existing workforce housing projects through municipalities or other public agencies up and down the peninsula, because there might be an opportunity for us to invest and support some of our educators with staff housing. I just don't know if spending $85 million is the best way to solve the issues across the district, and certainly issues that aren't necessarily completely identified as we start surveying staff. One of the things I am interested in is moving forward with a facility master planning project. This is a project where the district partners with an architectural firm to interview students and educators and families around what are the learning needs today, the instructional needs today, and where do we think and what do we think the instructional needs are going to be moving into the future. And those concepts, that feedback drives what kind of facilities we might want to have moving into the future, what kind of facility improvements we might want to have moving into the future. And so I think it would benefit the district greatly to engage over time in a facility master's development process, master planning process, to highlight where we have needs. We've talked earlier, we've had staff members discuss at the podium, desire to expand the space at Peninsula, desire to expand space for Bridge, as two examples, amongst many other projects across the district. But I would like to identify those to help support the board in its decision-making through a facility master planning process. So I'm not asking, nor am I encouraging the board to make a decision tonight around the proceeds for the sale of Crestmore. I think that's premature for two reasons. One, the sale isn't finalized, so we don't want to plan to spend money that we don't have yet. That's one. So let's be prudent about our monetary opportunities. But two, another reason why I don't want, not encouraging or recommending the board take action, is that I think it's important that our district educators and families have time to digest this survey data, have time to provide additional feedback to the board based on what they're learning. And between that and the time it's going to take for the sale of Crestmore to go through, it will help inform the board. It'll give the board time to get more information. We may want to do another study session in that time. We may want to agendize this again in that time to further your thinking and conversation and decision-making. I don't see, and this is really prognosticating crystal ball kind of stuff, I don't see the sale of Crestmore going through until we hit the 2025 calendar year, most likely. No problems or anything like that. It's just, that's the timeline. This is a very detailed sale. And so we have between now and maybe early calendar year 2025 to process, discuss, and at the, if the board chooses to provide direction, to start entering into some facilities master planning to help inform the board of what projects are out there that are desired by our educators, students, and community, what's needed to improve student learning and instruction and all of that. So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions and get directives from the board on how you'd like to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, so we'll open it up to comments and questions from the board. Does anybody have any comments? Go ahead.
Thank you. I know. You always look at me because I do talk a lot. I did want to, I know I probably won't be done here, but I just want to kick this off with saying this was for everybody involved. Thank you for putting together the survey, collecting the results. I know there's about 1,000, give or take a few FTEs in our district staff, certificated and classified, and I think a little over 50% participated. Where is it here? 506 responses. So I think that I just want to highlight the fact that I think that's great participation. It's a little over 50%. More would be better, but I think that's great. When you put out surveys to 1,000, when you put a survey out to 1,000 people, you don't typically get over 50%. You might get a lot less, quite honestly, if folks are busy. So I want to thank everybody involved who created the survey, collected the results, but also I want to thank those who took the survey, took the time to take the survey. And I know that it started off with some of the questions have 506 responses and some have 248. So I understand that if folks selected no, they're not interested, then they skipped a certain number of questions. Is that right, Superintendent Booker? Okay. But I wanted to highlight the fact that there are about 8 pages of verbatim comments. And when I read through those comments, those are really important. And that's what's really important. Folks took a lot of time to put their own personal thoughts behind this and to verbatim comments. Those are, I mean, all the questions are important. I just wanted to mention to my fellow colleagues here that reading through those comments, I'm not going to read through them because there's a lot there, but there's some really strong statements there. And I just wanted to thank everybody who took the time to put those comments in there.
And I want to remind the community that they can read those
Yes.
comments. They're attached to the board agenda as an appendices to the
Thank you for
survey.
saying that,
Yeah,
Superintendent Booker,
just
because I
so
forgot to
people know.
mention that's how I pulled it up. I pulled it up right off of the agenda from the PowerPoint slide deck. It's on the last page of the link. So thank you for mentioning that.
I'm glad you said that because that's where like the questions on the survey are one thing, but they're very directed to one answer or like there's no explanation, and so that part of the survey really helped. But there's also other questions that I'm curious about that like how many people own homes that that are staff here, how many people would like to own a home. Maybe could be even programs in the future that could be tied into first-time homebuyers programs that we can partner with the county with, or different things like that. So there are other variables that I'd like to know. Are there any other comments from the rest of the board? Yes, go ahead.
Sure. I also want to thank everyone who participated and planned the survey. I looked at the questions ahead of time and I thought it was a well-designed survey to capture what we wanted to understand as a board. So thank you for that. I like Superintendent Brooker's kind of analysis about what problem are we trying to solve. We don't really have a recruitment or a retention problem. So I feel like his recommendation or his thinking, I find myself aligned with in terms of the idea of having a facilities master planning exercise. I think it would be very useful, a very good idea. Focusing on, how can we best put to use this large sum of money that doesn't just help one small group of people, but also has a great impact on a large sector of our district, specifically our student learning and instruction needs and outcomes. And I do like the idea of investing in a partnership, not something that we take ownership of or, you know, find ourselves in the position of operating as landlords. I like the idea of, you know, putting our money to use with projects that are pre-existing and that other people might be doing some of the heavier lifting on. So that's kind of where I sit with it.
Yeah, and with that, to that point, it would be really interesting to perhaps have some folks that already have already done this to talk with us. I know the program at Jefferson Union had, you know, they had a really tough time at first, and now, you know, I'm curious to see what the outcomes have been with their project. Also, the community college district has the 3 sites with housing. And so just knowing from there and seeing how their wait lists are and who they're allowing into to rent at first and things like that. It's interesting to know. And even the cities, how they have their below market rate programs. It's also a good way to see how they coordinate all of that. We also are not landlords, right? We're an educational institution. So it, again, right, knowing how we can make this work. Trustee Griffin, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I got a couple of comments, and one of them, and I'm generally in support of the superintendent's comments. I think we probably do need to get a master plan update. Now, I think we did one way back before we started with the 2020 bond, you know, when we were just getting started, and I can't even remember the measure, but I think we looked at what our needs were back then. Now, the thing that's happened, a lot of things have changed in the last 20 years, 20 plus years. And, you know, students are going to be learning differently. You know, we heard the superintendent's remarks earlier, and, you know, at one point we were labs and, you know, other facilities, and our demographics are changing. And we need to look at what we're going to look like here for the long-term future, so we can plan appropriately. I do like the idea of teaming with another, you know, we're not a developer, maybe another city or someone who is like-minded in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. I think the thing with the housing, now that the state has mandated that all cities have housing plans, we're going to see eventually, I think we're going to see a lot more housing on the market. Of course, the problem with that is as we see it come online, it just doesn't seem to be affordable.
Yeah.
And I think that's the driving factor. So there is a lot for us to consider while we work through the dotting the I's and crossing the T's on the sale. So
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah.
comment.
Thank you. And to the point of the housing market being so high, it affects our enrollment, and it does affect our students.
Correct.
And so, yeah, that's another thing to consider. Okay, so let's see. Are there any comments from the public?
There are none.
Thank you. Okay, so this is info only. Is there anything else you needed to know from us?
Not at this point. Like I
Okay.
said, we've got some time. I'm hopeful that educators either watching at home or taking a look on YouTube can provide more feedback, more input as we go down, and we'll continue to update the board and the public as to our progress on the sale of Crestmore. Things are going well. I don't anticipate otherwise. And we'll probably look to make some decisions with the board early in the calendar year of 25.
Great, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item R. There's nothing under constructions tonight. Item S, Division of Human Resources. First, we'll start with item 1, personnel actions. Go ahead, Dr. Black.
Thank you. We have the personnel consent agenda, and that's the personnel actions. 1 adult career and education transfer student And then we have 3 MOUs with the CSEA regarding temporary reductions in shifts for personal reasons.
You know, I should have pulled these items. I have a question.
Mhm.
Okay. So with these, let's see. So with the items that are the positions that are being reduced in time, how are the students going to be served at that point? I know, like, they still have a caseload, right? And so what's going to happen? How are those students going to be served? Like, what's going to happen with those caseloads?
And you're speaking of the 2 mental health therapists? Yes. So that's a great question. And the manager of mental health and wellness, Abel Torres, has a plan for that using interns and interns and what we call associate therapists to cover those hours. It is a challenge. And I think one of the things the district prides itself on is to make sure that employees, when they have personal needs, be it, they're going to get a degree or they have new children or they're caring for a family member, that we try to be flexible and work with them. But we have to balance that with covering the workload, making sure that that's not transferred to other, full-time employees, and that we have the services to provide the students. But we're confident in this case for the rest of this year. Both of those are just for the rest of
For
this
the rest of
year.
this year, right?
Yeah, they're very temporary. All of them are temporary. That we can do it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Do we have any comments from the board or any questions? No. Do we have anybody online or anybody in person with comments?
There are none.
Thank you. Okay. At this point, I can entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, motion by trustee Chavez,
I will second.
a second by trustee Jacobson. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Chavez,
Aye.
trustee Jacobson,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Thank you. Okay, motion passes. All right. Go ahead, the next item.
Next item is the personal actions addendum. There's no specific recognitions this time.
Okay, great. Are there any comments? Wait. Comments, questions? Okay. Let's see, are there any comments from the public?
There are none.
Okay, thank you. All right, I can entertain a motion.
I move to approve the addendum.
Okay, motion by trustee Jacobson.
I'll second that.
Right, there's so many of us here tonight. Second by trustee Chavez. Okay, trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Chavez?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Okay, motion passes. All right, going on to the next item.
The next item is a MOU with the CSEA. The district initiated an athletic PE program this school year for student athletes that enables them the opportunity to study during their PE period while they're in sport. This has been very beneficial to students and their families for family time. The MOU between the district and the CSEA lists the positions that may supervise the students in the athletic PE program. It ensures a substitute when the number of students reach over 25 for any given period, and also provides a 10% differential pay to classified employees who are assigned to supervise students in the athletic PE program.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, I have one question. What has been the reactions from the staff about this particular?
Well, that's a good question. So we've been working on this MOU since October, and it's been a give and take. And through the different discussions we've had and analysis that we've, taken with how many students and where they're at and what jobs are usually tasked for supervising the students, I think we've come to amicable agreement and one that's fair and we'll be able to work out. It's only for the rest of this year, but I think, we did a lot of work and we're confident we're in a good place if this gets approved.
Can I jump in on that one
Sure,
as well?
thank you.
Yeah, I want to be, I want to provide a little bit more detail here. It has been a challenge. We've run into challenges. Challenges in who's supervising, how many students, what are the protocols for taking attendance? Does it fit in job descriptions? All those kinds of things. So for those at home watching or hearing, I don't want to send a message that it's been smooth going. It's had some good parts, and I think, as Dr. Black has said, it's benefited students greatly. But we still have more work to do to iron out some of the challenges of supervision, space, master scheduling, so we don't have so many students piled up in one period and not so many in others. Or if we're going to do that purposefully, then let's supervise intentionally. So, the principals even asked me at our last principals meeting last week, like, we need to talk about this moving into next year. Like, we need to reorganize. I'm like, absolutely. We're going to start talking this month of March and reevaluating and, making sure we're better organized and better understanding of our roles and how to do this best. So we might have some changes moving forward for next year. And I appreciate Dr. Black and CSCA, Robin and her e-board and others, coming to agreement. It wasn't easy. But I'm committed to working through it. I think we can do it. I think we all have the same goal around supporting students. It's just, how do we best organize ourselves and support one another. So more to come.
Yeah, that's one of the rumblings that I've heard is that it was hasty. And so that people wish that there would have been a little bit more ironing out of certain things or more discussion before it was implemented. And so that's why I asked, like, what were the specific, concerns? Do you have yeah, go ahead.
I've attended a few basketball games in the past 2 weeks, and it's not a large sample size by no means. I talked to just a few parents, and of course they thought it's working, and they were very appreciative that we're giving this a chance right this year. But like what I was just thinking, when you initiate a new plan or a new idea, there's always going to be lessons learned. I know that most of us had asked to come back and revisit this and see what were the lessons learned. Is it still a viable option? So I think that's a good discussion for another board meeting.
Yeah, for sure.
Another time
I
later.
agree. And it's still on future board. I didn't want to do that until we had the MOU approved. And then we can come back and say, okay, we got this MOU approved. This is what it means. And this is how it's going. And when we bring that presentation back, you're going to hear some really good ways of how it's going and some rough ways in how it's going. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Are there any other comments? Trustee Griffin, do you have any comments?
No.
Okay. Okay. Are there any comments from the public?
There are none.
Thank you. Okay. I would like to entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the MOU as is.
Okay. We have a motion by Trustee Chavez.
I will second.
A second by Trustee Jacobson. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Chavez?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson?
Aye.
And I'm going to vote aye, but I know that this MOU is only until the end of the year. And if it would have been longer, I don't think I would have been able to support it. But I am, because I want to make sure that this is there and then that we can start with some other changes. So thank you. So I vote aye as well. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next item.
The next item is a job description for the AP testing coordinator. Over the past few years, all the sites that do proctor AP exams have had a AP testing coordinator. So we wanted to put the expectations and the duties of this position into a job description. It's for a stipend. It's for an employee. It's a $2,000 stipend. And the recommendation is to approve the job description so the person taking it knows what the expectations are and has guidance in fulfilling their function.
Thank you. Is there any discussion for the board? Okay, any public comment?
There are none.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, I can take a motion.
I move to approve the job description.
Okay, motion by trustee Jacobson,
I'll second that.
second by trustee Chavez. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Chavez,
Aye.
trustee Jacobson,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item.
The next item is the district's proposal for reopeners with the district's Teachers Association. Beyond salary and benefits, each party is able to open one article. The district proposes opening Article 9, which is the hours of employment. The district's interests include professional responsibility period and adding proctoring 504 plan tests as an accommodation for students. This would be one of the 10 duties that teachers are expected to do under the PRP period. Also, we'd like to clarify how block periods are paid when teachers substitute on their prep period. There's a little bit of variance in the language and what the practice is. And we would also like to clarify the few categories that are able to work from home in the certificated unit. Additionally, on the reopeners, we have the committees that have recommendations in regards to sabbaticals, and the dean and athletic director evaluations, and stipends for drama, music, dance, yearbook, and newspaper assignments. Also, among others, like robotics and mock trial. So that's our openers, and we recommend approval.
Great. Is there any discussion by the board? Okay. Is there any public comment?
There are none.
Okay, at this point, I can entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Trustee Chavez moves. Can I get a second?
I will second.
Trustee Jacobson seconds. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Chavez,
Aye.
trustee Jacobson,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Motion passes. Let's see. And then going on to the next item.
So this would be number 6, 5 was pulled. Okay, so this is, so during COVID or during the pandemic and after, there were many grants from the state. Some of those have ended or will end in the near future. One of the ways the district used that support was to create additional health aid positions. But now, since that time, the district has established a pretty good health structure and different supports in place, both personnel and systems, many approved by the school board. So the district does not need as many health aid positions as it did during the pandemic and right after it. So this resolution includes the layoff of 3 health aid positions that were established during the pandemic. Of those 3 positions, 2 will be unfilled come Monday. One of the people in the position was promoted to a school job at Peninsula High School, and another was took a job outside of the district. So we have one person that will be affected by the layoffs, and the district will meet with that employee next week and try to discuss possible ways for her to continue her employment if she wishes in the district in other positions as they become open, hopefully this spring.
Thank you. And I just want to make it clear that these positions were discussed during the lockdown part of the pandemic, that they were going to cease.
That's right.
At some point, right? Okay.
Yeah, temporary.
Great. Is there any discussion by the board? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just, and any positions that are related to, I know health aid, we're coming out of COVID, or we thought we came out, and then sometimes it trickles back in.
Mhm.
Health aid, I think a mental health support as well, which is not the same. I know. It's just hard. I have a hard time with and I'm happy that those 2 of the 3 individuals have found a different position within our amazing district. But if we didn't eliminate these positions, we would, in theory, we would backfill those to make sure we had these. I just, it's hard for me to think that that it won't be noticed when we reduce any classified employee positions. I don't know how the rest of you got, how you rest of you feel, but I'd like to hear your thoughts as well. I know we talked about the step down approach, the plan, and some of us voiced our concerns back then regarding utilizing some funds. I mentioned that we might have when we have declining enrollment, we're going to be able to capture some of that with attrition when teachers retire or move out of the area, or not just teachers but staff as well. But I guess my question is the three positions, the three FTEs. I know it's health aid, it's related. A lot of the work maybe was performed around as you mentioned, Dr. Black, around the pandemic. And then I'm sure that the positions also had other responsibilities because now that we're trickling out of COVID, I just have a hard time with saying, maybe we don't need these three FTEs, but they're student related. So I just have a hard time. I just want to see what other thoughts are around this from my colleagues here.
I totally understand what you're saying, and I think I share the same sentiments. I think the only difference for me is that these positions were explained that way, right? Dr. Black,
Yes.
that the employees knew that at one point that we would no longer have these funds. Now, my question is, what happens at the point of us going through another pandemic or something else happening? I'm sure that, if there is money allocated through the state or through any other area that, we would rehire, right? But I guess that would be my question. Like, what do you do at that point? But the part that makes me sit okay with this is because of that, because it was explained and people they did know that that there was an end date to this. I don't know if that makes you feel better or worse, but but that was anybody else?
I just agree with what Trustee Andrade Zuniga said, that these positions were not meant to be forever, and we have to do what's fiscally responsible for the district. And I'm happy that the district is making the effort to offer, to fit people in other positions. I think that's great.
Yeah. And we're definitely grateful for everything people have done in those positions. Absolutely. Yeah. But unfortunately,
If I can just make one more comment, I echo what you say, Trustee Jacobson, that, and I think I mentioned this a few minutes ago, that I think it's great that two of the three positions have already, one person already has a different position, and one person moved out of the district already. So I think that's, and then the third person, we're working to see what we can do to help them.
Right.
And I think I would like us to, it's what I want to say is that it might not be related to this, but what I want to say is that I really feel like if we could put more energy, more support around mental health, helping our students with mental health. But I'm not saying that there's a person who's a health aide probably isn't has the credentials to help, and with it's not the same level of work. So I guess that's something to think about as well later if we are able to increase the staff for mental health support, which is not what this is. So thanks.
Thank you.
Certainly. Can I jump in?
Yes, go ahead.
I really appreciate Trustee Chavez, your sentiments and struggle around it. It's never easy to make reductions. One, it's not something we should ever take lightly. And at the same time, this district, like every district across the state of California, is having to step down millions of dollars worth of categorical and soft money. This is the first of what will become many conversations that we are going to have, challenging conversations about how we effectively, efficiently, humanely step down positions, because the state of California is not refunding the monies that we received during the COVID era. They gave it to school districts with the intention of a 3-year program. They've extended sometimes to a 4th year, but looking at the proposed budget for next year from the state of California, those are not getting refunded, at least not fully. And so, hearing what you had to say, Trustee Chavez, I think that one of the things we as a district staff can do better, maybe leading into some of these decisions, is giving the board more feedback and rationale, what we're doing, why we're doing those kinds of things, and giving the board more opportunity to provide feedback, wrestle, conversation, and discuss. So when we come to board meetings, some of those questions have already been answered, or some of the thoughts have been done collaboratively, I guess. But I do want to acknowledge that it's hard. It's not easy.
Thank you. Trustee Griffin, do you have any comments?
No, well, the thing that I have to agree with the two trustee comments that we all knew that the COVID money was temporary money, including the people who accepted the positions. And, we can't necessarily reprogram health aides to, and, I'll acknowledge that I think we have a lot of issues related to mental health. But I think we need to look at those issues program specific and not try to repurpose other people. And I think we all understand that. And the state is definitely not going to bail us out in this, because the state is looking for money. They've got real problems, and they're looking to take back money that they already owe us. So. And the other thing, and the district has a really good history of looking and trying to place people, and not just, it's never been a, just kind of cut the ties and move on. So, I think we're just carrying on that tradition here. So.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay.
It's not about this.
No, but it's you're human, and these are people's lives, and it's not easy. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. And there's no comment online?
There are none.
Great. Okay. Do we need to do a motion? Yes. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve the resolution.
Okay. A motion by Trustee Jacobson.
I'll second that.
Trustee Chavez seconds. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Chavez.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson.
Aye.
And then I vote aye as well. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, going on to, let's see, there's no division of student, Division of Instructional Services. Dr. Kemke.
Yeah, so this first item is the LCAP mid-year monitoring report. As you remember at our last board meeting, it came forward without the attachment, so we're bringing it back. This is a new requirement by the state that we bring forward progress on our metrics in our LCAP. As a district, we've been doing this work ever since the LCAP was implemented, where we report to you throughout the year on our progress on the different metrics of the LCAP. So you'll see it reported here as well. And yeah, we're in that process right now of developing the new LCAP. So we'll have more information coming to you in a future meeting too. So we're looking for approval of the mid-year monitoring report.
Thank you. Is there any discussion from the board? I just have one comment. At the last Mental Health Advisory Committee, we were talking about the stigmatization of just of the term unhoused or homeless, or whatever, either word. And I guess I am just curious, or maybe concerned, that in the data that comes up for unhoused students, that we may not get complete accuracy because of the stigmatization. So I don't know if there's a way of, finding that information another way, but that's just one of my concerns. Okay, let's see. Did somebody, no? Any comments? No? Okay. Let's see, is there any public comment?
There are none.
Okay. Can I entertain a motion? I can entertain a motion now. Sorry, it's
No,
getting late.
I know it's getting late. I'll make a motion to approve the LCAP media report.
Thank you. We have a motion by trustee Chavez,
I will second.
second by trustee Jacobson. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Chavez,
Aye.
trustee Jacobson,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item.
So this next item is a course of study for a one-off course is what I'll call it. It's the Introduction to Business Honors course that we offer at Aragon High School just for one semester. It's to ensure the students that were enrolled in this class receive the credit for a course that we are partnering with Skyline, or I'm sorry, yeah, it is with Skyline, San Mateo Community College District. So we're looking for approval of this course of study.
Excellent. Any discussion by the board? No.
I want to say it looks exciting. I kind of want to take the class.
I know.
Especially that part about the economics, since I studied that.
Not my
can we
favorite.
drop in the class?
I guess I have a question. It's sort of unrelated, but I love that we're having this class. I wonder if we have anything in the district in the area of personal finance education.
So we don't have a personal finance class, but
Okay.
our economics class does have components of it that cover personal
Mhm.
finance.
Okay, good.
But not a standalone course.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, there actually, to that point, there was a conversation recently. I want to say it was like a conference or some sort, but they were talking about that. There's a young man, he's really young, and he has a whole finance course online for other young people to take. And I wish I could remember exactly what that was, but it's important because a
It
lot of
is.
students don't, they graduate without even, knowing how to balance their savings account, or
Yeah.
their checking. And then they get into credit card debt in college. So yeah, definitely an issue. Okay. Are there any public comments?
There are none.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion.
I move to approve the business honors course of study.
Great. Okay, we have a motion by trustee Jacobson
I'll second that.
and a second by trustee Chavez. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Chavez?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries. We're almost there, y'all. We're almost there. Okay. Division, nothing. Are there any division of business services?
No.
Okay. And then we're on board operations, the 2024 ballot for CSBA Delegate Assembly.
Okay, so in front of the board, we've got the CSBA Delegate Assembly nominees Chelsea Bonini, Sophia Lane, Patricia Murray, or a write-in candidate. So what we're looking for is a motion from the board naming up to 3 members. They'll serve a 2-year term beginning April 1st, 2024 through March 31st, 2026. If the board is good with the listed delegates, you can just make a motion indicating that, you're recommending the 3 delegates as listed.
Well, we have trustee Land, right, until 25, representing our district, right? So is there any discussion on this? Any recommendations?
Yeah, I recommend that we. Well,
Move this slate.
yeah, I recommend that we approve the entire slate. So I guess
Okay.
I'm making that motion.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll make the motion unless there's further discussion.
Doesn't look like it.
Okay.
And is there any comments from the public?
There are
No?
none.
Okay,
Okay, so I make the motion to approve the slate with all 3 individuals.
thank you. I'll second that. So we have a motion by trustee Chavez and I'll second that motion. Trustee Griffin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Chavez?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Great, motion carries. And now we're down to future board agenda items. Aside from what's already on the agenda, are there any comments from the public?
There are none.
Thank you. Um, okay, so aside from the items, right, that we have on the agenda already, is there anything else that we'd like to add? Oh,
Yeah, on the agenda, it lists professional learning, certificated and classified feedback, March 14th. PE Athletic Study Hall, we talked about this a little earlier, March 14th.
mhm.
And we're hoping to bring the EL soccer coaches and some of the players on March 14th as well.
Is there any update on the school counselors? Would they be able to ever come?
I'm not there yet, and
Okay,
I'm
sure.
trying to spread out a little bit.
It's fine.
That-
Uh-huh. Sure. And then also follow up about the environmental justice.
Yeah, I met with the students yesterday, 2 days ago. I'm sorry, I don't remember. Met with them. We had a great conversation. They've done an immense amount of work on proposed administrative regulation around environmental friendly utensils, amongst some other things like recycling bins, compost bins, things like that. So we've set upon a path where I'll be working with our director of nutrition and Mr. Hawkins around pricing out their, what's the fiscal impact of their draft administrative regulation? There's a significant fiscal impact. What we laid out is over the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing that research. We're going to meet back up with the students and present that research to them, that data to them, prior to the end of March. And, if it's something we think we can afford or something we think we can bring to the board as a recommendation, then we would come to the board in April with some ideas and possible plans. And so that's what I laid out to the students a couple nights ago. They're really excited. So we'll be meeting with them again prior to spring break. But we have some research to do as to what the complete fiscal impact would be on making such a shift.
Excellent.
I appreciate you taking the time to meet with them and do the research.
Yeah, they were great. They're smart and well-researched themselves.
Yeah,
I'm like, I have to research, the bamboo, dinnerware, whatever you call it, servingware. And I'm not sure what vendor. He's like, oh, I've got this website. And they sent me the website right there, the listing of all the different. I'm like, well, does the waste management systems in San Mateo County take that? Oh yeah, here's this website. It says what they take. I mean, he was fantastic.
That's impressive.
Yeah, he was great.
I know that there's further research regarding the cost and you want to take a deep dive into that. But the student who sent us the emails who wanted to come and speak, hopefully he's part of the group you spoke
Matthew.
with. Do you think that they could come in and just provide like a 10 or 15-minute presentation on some of their work they've done that way?
For sure.
Even before, just because I think they're really excited about it, without even talking about the cost, just.
No, they were good about coming in April because
Oh, okay. Oh, April, I'm
what we
sorry.
talked about was they're going to do this presentation, and one of the first questions we're going to ask them is, okay, so what's the fiscal impact?
Right.
And then we're like, so
Okay.
it's good for them to, and it allows them to meet with me and our director of nutrition and our CBO, and part of the process of bringing new administrative regulation is going through that work with district staff and kind of rolling up our sleeves together. That's part of the learning for them, I think.
Yeah.
The presentation is, they'll knock your socks off. That's the easy part. It's the digging in, right? And helping them understand, this and this cost. And, because one of the things, for instance, they said to me was they really want to get away from the single serving condiment packets.
Yeah.
And they're saying, if we did larger serving, it's a lot cheaper. And I'm like, no, it's not actually. Oftentimes the reasons why we do the things that are
Right.
environmentally unfriendly is because they're cheaper, right? So moving away from, they didn't put together the labor costs and the refilling and the hourly wage and where do you store things and refrigerate things and all those. Oh, we got to install new fridges. Oh, how much does that cost? And all those kinds of things. So it was a really good discussion about ideas and then the implementation of ideas and that ripple effect. So really good.
Yeah, and I want to say that they've come before in previous years. Trustee Griffin, do you recall a presentation from the environmental justice students.
Well, I'm not sure it's the same crew, but I do recall when they came through. And actually, the one I recall was the recycling initiative, I think,
Yes.
at Aragon.
Yes, yeah. It was, yeah. I remember
Superintendent
that.
Booker, sounds like you had a great discussion
It
with them,
was.
and a great working session. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Thank
it
you.
is.
Okay, well, great. All right, being that there's nothing else to discuss, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Gavel.